I saw the news about IL6 with Palantir and the new level of access to secure data. They're one of only 3 companies now that have reached that level. So I believe that's what AWS, Microsoft, and now Palantir are the only 3 companies on Earth that have achieved that level of security clearance. Yes?
Yeah.
What's your take on that?
So I did one tweet on this that ended up resonating with some people. 2 of those companies are worth trillions. One of those is worth 15 billion. Now that obviously the 2 companies that are worth trillions have massive consumer products and there's there's it's not a black and white comparison, but it says something that one company that's a measly tiny company by market cap, given the macro has been destroyed, is getting into the door with the DoD at a level 6 certification that 2 massive giants are, especially in the cloud computing space, because Palantir is not really selling compute to them. They're selling this new integrated way for them to use AI, ML ops to be able to actually secure really classified data. I think it's exciting. I think it's interesting. This is on the back of $800 million of deals that came in September. I mean, Sham now looks like a genius in February at the Morgan Stanley conference where he was like, well, the government's going to have to spend it. It's probably going to get spent really soon in a really compressed amount of time. They have $780 billion. It's got to go somewhere. We think we're going to be the ones to capitalize on a decent amount of that. And it seems like they are. So, I mean, I'm bullish on it. It's great. It's not going to make the stock price go better. But as a long-term investor, I'm looking at this like, for $8, this is not too bad.
It's sort of like if you take, I like to do this thing all the time where I forget about the price, forget about the stock, forget about the market cap, forget about it being a publicly traded company. Let's just for a second pretend it's not publicly traded. You can't buy shares even if you wanted to. Okay. Would you be interested in a company that's one of only 3 to achieve the highest level of classified data access on Earth? Of course, any investor is going to be like, yes, that's absolutely incredible to think that only 3 companies have ever gotten there, and one of them is not like the other 2.
Yeah.
And if you extract the emotion and the controversy and the outgoing eccentric CEO and maybe its founders for a second, you just focus core principle of technology, executing on the technology and the mission, and executing on getting contracts done. It is absolutely mind-bending to me that they have achieved in IL6. This is the kind of thing that's not going to talk about hoopla, using hoopla at the wrong time. This won't get a lot of hoopla.
Yeah.
Because people don't care. People who like it already like it. People who don't.
Yep.
I want to present a different thing to you. How bad would it be if AWS lost IL6?
Right.
People would go bananas because they'd recognize what an unbelievable, unique opportunity is to have that level of access. And I think that in a bit of irony, folks don't see it in the reverse of what this could potentially be. And I'm not like an ultra bull. I mean, I'm bullish, but like, you know what I'm saying? I'm not singing the praises 7 days a week, twice on Sunday, but you just can't step away from this and say like, come on, it's because so-and-so knows so-and-so. Like these are the kinds of things where there can be no error. You cannot have problems with any part of your solution and have things like this take place. So
have you been bullish on the recent $800 million in deals that you've seen?
I mean, to me, I don't mean to be funny when I say this, but like it sort of just goes without saying. I don't even need to make a comment on it. I don't think, right? Like it's absurd. It's absurd to think that almost $1 billion in new contracts, IL6 certification, one of only 3 vendors on the planet Earth who are allowed to have that. I mean, I don't know. Does a market cap of 15 billion justify doing $1 billion in a month while sitting on what, 2.4 billion still in cash, give or take, and another billion or so in credit facilities? I don't know. More and more, even if you despise everything about them, what they do and everything, and you're super emotional and you don't want to look into the details, fine. I get it. Some people are going to just hate it no matter what. There's people who hate AWS no matter what. There's people who hate Microsoft no matter what. There's people who hate every company in the world no matter what, because they're not socialist or communist or Democrat or Republican or whatever. And someone's going to hate it no matter what because it's something that they don't like. If we extract the bullshit, we look only at technology. That's it. Extract everything else from this conversation. I don't want to know the name of the company. I don't want to know who founded it. I don't care who's running it. If you are closing contracts in the hundreds of millions of dollars on a regular basis, and your technology is proven to not only work, but be uniquely certified in a place where you have no competition now, because they don't. Let's be fair. That is something to, at a minimum, be excited enough to warrant additional research on this topic. That is my full stop feeling right now. I am not recommending it. I am not saying you should buy it. I'm not saying you have to buy it. I'm not saying you shouldn't buy it. What I'm saying is there's clearly a reason why there are only 3 companies currently on Earth that have achieved this level of clearance and executing on this amount of contracts, yet has a market cap that's not reflective of it whatsoever. If nothing else, it deserves more research. And I don't mean by YouTubers. I don't mean by people on Twitter. I mean, real analysts at major firms are going to have to start paying attention.
Yeah.
They don't have a choice now. Because what's going to happen is speculation, not financial advice, right? Like they're going to start to look at these things and someone's going to come out and say, we got this wrong. Here's where this probably should be in the next year or two. And then everyone else who wasn't on it is now going to have to kick off coverage or initiate coverage on it. So once those coverages are initiated, they're going to have to start digging in. And whether you hate them, you despise them, you don't like anything about them or anyone who created, founded, or runs it, you cannot ignore the math and the technology, because at the end of the day, it's just math and technology, right? Finance being math. So that's where I stand on it. I haven't even, I'm sure you don't really notice, but like I have not commented on them at all. And I'm going to tell you why. It's because I don't think anything needs to be said. I think that this was an opportunity to say, the proof is in the pudding, and they've delivered tons and tons of pudding. And it turned out it was a full course meal. It wasn't just dessert. So that's my take on it. I mean, when we first started talking about this, you and I, when we did our very first pod together, which feels like 20 years ago, but it actually wasn't.
Right.
And we were talking about why we were excited. We weren't talking about the CEO. We weren't talking about Peter Thiel. We weren't talking about politics. We weren't talking about any silly emotional.
We're talking about how data is operationalized for cancer research.
Yep. We're talking about massive amounts of data that require massive power to understand the data, execute on the data, and take action on the data in the workflow where it lives. Since then, that has happened. One thing I never comment on is the price, because I don't care about the price. The price matters to me long term, but I don't care about the price today. I don't care about the price in 12 months. I don't care about the price in 24 months. I care fundamentally, is this a company that I personally, not financial advice, would want in my portfolio because it has the right aspects of a long-term company that can be acquired, do some acquisition, continue to grow, continue to execute, and raise its market cap? The answer is yes, for me, based on my portfolio, my style investing.